Welcome to NHL Imperialism. How it works is I spin a wheel to select a team. After selecting a team, I'll spin a directional arrow to figure out which way we're going. If the arrow points us towards an unoccupied state or province, then said team's going to claim said state or province. If it points to an occupied state or province, then the two teams will battle it out and the winner will get the other team's occupied space. I've also made one change, which is the winning team is now able to steal one player from the losing team. However, that player must currently play for said NHL team. So for example, if Colorado were to say somehow have Austin Matthews on the team, I'm not able to select Austin Matthews after defeating the Colorado Avalanche. It would have to be a guy like Nathan MacKinnon or Cale Makar. Now that we understand the rules, let's see who's going to conquer NHL Imperialism and come out on top. Also, if you're new to the channel and you haven't already, make sure you subscribe because I'm trying to pass the New York Rangers in YouTube subscribers and I won't be able to do that if you don't subscribe. So here's what the map's looking like, and there is one difference from the last time we did this. I fixed California. Well, I didn't necessarily fix California. Dean's World did because he made this map for me, and of course I want to give a massive shout out to him again for the inspiration for this video. With our very first spin of the video, we're going to be landing on the Detroit Red Wings, and they're going to be heading southeast. And through them heading southeast, they're entering Columbus territory, and now they got to take on the Blue Jackets. After a scoreless first period, Columbus is going to get the scoring starting in the second, but at the end of the second period, Detroit's going to be up 2-1. Late in the third period, Robertson's going to be scoring a goal for Columbus, and he's tying the game up at 2, and with the game tied at 2, we're going to be heading into overtime. In overtime, Boone Jenner's going to get a shot off, which is going to deflect off of Ville Husso's stick and bounce it over him. Johnny Hockey's going to crash right to the front of the net, and he's burying this one. With the Columbus win over Detroit, they're going to be adding one player from the Red Wings, and that's going to be Dylan Larkin. And with Columbus's great defense at home, they're going to be the first team claiming some territory, as they're going to get Michigan. Before we do our next wheel spin though, a quick word from today's sponsor. I want to give a big shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. SeatGeek is a ticket app that takes all the confusion out of buying tickets for your favorite events. On every single ticket, there's a rating so you know if you're getting a good or a bad deal. Of course, green's going to mean a good deal and red, that's meaning bad. With the NHL season coming to a close, this might be your last time to check out your team until next season. And guys, I got a deal for you. If you use my code SOTI at checkout, you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. That's code SOTI for $20 off your first purchase. And once again, thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. Next up is the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they're going to be taking their talents northeast. And that means we're sticking in Canada as we got the Toronto Maple Leafs taking on the Montreal Canadiens. Goal scoring is going to get started a bit earlier in this game as Toronto's going to be potting 2 in the first period while the Habs are getting 1. And Toronto's doubling down in the second period as they're going to expand their lead to 4-2. In the third period, Toronto and Montreal would exchange goals, but that was until Josh Anderson would send a rocket right over Samsonov's glove, and he's making this a 1-goal game. But with the goalie pulled, Mitch Marner would end up burying the empty netter, and that's going to give Toronto the win. And through them getting the win, they're going to be adding Nick Suzuki to the team. With the Leafs defeating Montreal, they're able to claim all of Quebec, and now they own the most land in the entire game. But to be fair, we're only 2 matchups in. We're finally headed over to the Western Conference with the Arizona Coyotes up next, and with the team heading northwest, they got the Vegas Golden Knights up next. Arizona and Vegas are going to exchange goals in the first period, but in the second, it's going to be scoreless, so this game's going to come down to the wire. Arizona's finally getting repaid for taking as many shots as they did, as they're going to be potting 2 in the third period while Vegas is only potting 1, and that means we're going to have a massive upset here as the Arizona Coyotes are going to be taking down the Vegas Golden Knights. I definitely didn't expect a team like the Arizona Coyotes to complete the upset here, and through them taking down the Vegas Golden Knights, they're going to be adding Jack Eichel to the team. Through claiming Vegas' territory, Arizona continues to move more west. And speaking of the west, we're going to stay in the Western Conference as we have the Colorado Avalanche up next, but with them heading southeast, they're just going to be claiming a free state. Heading back up to Canada, we got the Edmonton Oilers up next, and they're going to be heading southeast. And now we got ourselves a battle of Alberta as the Edmonton Oilers are going to be taking on the Calgary Flames. Clem Costin might be starting the scoring for Edmonton, but Calgary's going to be up 2-1 after the first period. But Edmonton's going to lock in the second period, they're going to pot 3, and now they're up 4-2. Edmonton would continue to roll, potting 3 more goals in the third period, while Calgary's only able to pot 2. And with Edmonton potting 7 and having a 3-goal lead, they're going to be taking down Calgary and they're going to claim all of Alberta. The defense on Edmonton's right side could use a bit of an upgrade, so we're adding Rasmus Anderson to the team. And as I said earlier, with the Calgary defeat, Edmonton's now claiming all of Alberta. We're heading back over to the east as we have the Carolina Hurricanes up next, and they're heading directly north, so that means they're claiming a free state. Florida's up next, and they're heading northwest. And honestly, there's only one team for them to face, and that's the Tampa Bay Lightning. It was a low-scoring first period as Matthew Tkachuk's going to be potting the lone goal. In the second period, Florida and Tampa are going to exchange goals, but Florida still got that 2-1 lead. But that was before Tampa locked in, as they're going to be potting 3 unanswered in the third period to give themselves a 4-2 lead. But this game isn't over yet. With just 15 seconds left in the game, Matthew Tkachuk's going to be potting a goal, and he's getting this within 1. And a last-ditch effort from Florida wasn't enough, and Tampa's going to be stealing this game away from them. And they're also going to be stealing Matthew Tkachuk because we're bringing him to the team. With the Panthers now down, Tampa's claimed the rest of Florida. Arizona wants to get in the mix again, so they're up next, and they're going to be heading southwest this time. And through them heading southwest, they're going to be taking on the Anaheim Ducks. Arizona and Anaheim are going to be exchanging goals in the first period, while the second period, that's going to be a scoreless one. It wouldn't take too much time for Arizona to get on the board in the third period, as Jack Eichel's going to be scoring just 3 minutes in. And with less than a minute left in the game, Clayton Keller is going to deflect a shot into the open net, and he's giving Arizona an insurance goal as they take down the Anaheim Ducks. And it doesn't really matter who we select from Anaheim, because any player is going to help this team, but I'm going to go with Troy Terry. With that win from the Coyotes, they've entered Southern California, and they're looking to claim the rest of California real quick. We're staying in the Central Division once again as the Colorado Avalanche are up next, and they're going to be heading northwest. But northwest, that's just going to give them another free state. Toronto wants to get back in the mix once again. With them heading southwest, they got the Columbus Blue Jackets up next. Toronto and Columbus are going to be exchanging goals in the first period, but in the second period, everything fell apart for Toronto. Columbus is going to be scoring 4 goals, and now they got a 5-1 lead, and this game's basically over. But maybe not, because Toronto's potting 2 in the third period, and they still got 2 minutes left to make a comeback. But 2 minutes clearly isn't going to be enough for this team, as Columbus, they're going to be completing the upset over the Toronto Maple Leafs, and now their hopes of winning NHL Imperialism have gone down the drain. But Columbus's chances are increasing, because now they're getting one of the most elite goal scorers in the game in Austin Matthews. And it's also important to mention, with that win from Columbus, they're the first Canadian team to enter Canada. Arizona's looking to steal some more players as they're getting selected from the wheel once again, but this time they're going to be heading southeast, so they're just claiming a free state. Heading back up to Canada, the Edmonton Oilers are up next, and with them heading directly south, they're also going to be claiming a free state. Shifting over a few provinces, the Winnipeg Jets are up next, and the Jets, they're going to be taking their town southwest, so that means they're claiming a free state as well. So that's 3 teams straight now that have claimed free states. Somehow after spinning the wheel, the Winnipeg Jets are going to be selected once again, but this time they're taking their towns eastward, so that means they have the Ottawa Senators to take on. Ehlers is going to open the scoring in the first period, but in the second, DeBrincat's going to be tying this game up, and we got a tie game heading into the third period. But a little over halfway into the third period, Winnipeg's going to be taking a 2-1 lead, and this could be the deciding goal. But it doesn't look like it's going to be, because with 30 seconds left in the game, Drake Batherson's going to be getting the puck in the slot. He's going to have a little time to set up, and he's going to be ripping this one past Halbuck. And just a little over a minute into overtime, Zub's going to be finding Tim Stützle on the doorstep, and he's going to bury this one in the back of the net to give Ottawa the overtime winner. And ironically, we're going to be selecting the guy that Tim Stützle just scored on in Connor Halbuck. With Ottawa's defense, they're going to be claiming all of Winnipeg's territory, and now they're looking like a powerhouse. The next team up is the newest expansion team in the Seattle Kraken, and they're going to be taking their town southeast. That's just going to give them a free state. Okay, I don't know what the odds of this happening are, but it has to be incredibly low. Winnipeg back-to-back, and then Seattle back-to-back. The odds of this happening must be incredibly low, but nonetheless, Seattle's up next, and with them heading directly south, they're getting another free state. Sorry to hype up all the crazy odds just for them to steal a free state. The Arizona Coyotes are tired of sitting there and doing nothing, and they're up on the wheel once again, and they're going to be heading northwest, which means they have the LA Kings to take on. The newly acquired Troy Terry is going to start the goal scoring off in the first period, but in the second period, goals are going to be exchanged between Arizona and LA, so it's still a 1-goal game. That was before Arizona took over in the third period though. With 2 goals, they're going to expand that to a 3-goal lead, and for LA, that's going to be too much of a mountain to overcome, and they're going to be falling to the Arizona Coyotes, who are defeating their third team. Are the Coyotes about to become a powerhouse? Never would have expected that. The Coyotes are in desperate need of any type of defenseman, so Drew Doughty, you're the most logical choice for us. With LA falling, San Jose is the last team left in California, and the Coyotes, they want to take them down next. But they might not get the chance, because if Seattle ends up heading south, then they'll be taking on the San Jose Sharks. But that's not exactly what's happening. Seattle's heading up north, so they got the Vancouver Canucks. After the first period, Seattle's got themselves a healthy lead as they're potting 2. And after a scoreless second period, Jordan Eberle is going to score Seattle's 3rd goal of the game as they go on to shut out the Vancouver Canucks. With the Vancouver Canucks falling, Seattle's going to be taking Pettersson away from them. And that's also going to allow them to become the 2nd American team entering Canada. We're finally entering the Metro Division as we got the New Jersey Devils. And with them taking their town southwest, they got the Washington Capitals to go up against. Although Washington's only taken 2 shots in the first period, they're going to get on the board first, and now they have a 1-0 lead. Compared to the first period, we got a high-scoring one, as New Jersey and Washington are both going to be potting 2. But Washington wasn't comfortable with just a 1-goal lead, so Sedin's going to give them another one to be an insurance goal. But the Capitals won't need that insurance goal, because Smith's going to pot an empty netter, and he's giving Washington the win. Of course, there was a ton of talent to take away from the New Jersey Devils, but I'm going to go with Jack Hughes. And although it doesn't look like much, Washington's got a bit more territory as they took the Devils. We spent enough time over in the east, so now we got to head back over to the west, and the Dallas Stars, they're going to be taking their towns directly east, and through heading directly east, they're going to be claiming a free state. Next up is the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they're going to be heading directly east, but slightly south, just the smallest bit south. And through them heading just the smallest bit south, that's actually going to save them from taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins, as they're going to get a free state. And speaking of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they're taking their town southwest as well. But through them heading southwest, they're going to have a matchup, and they got the Washington Capitals. Ovi's going to start the goal scoring as he's got the lone goal in the first period, and in the second period, we're going to see Washington and Pittsburgh exchange goals. With seconds left in the game, Ovi's going to be potting the OT winner after getting it through the defenseman's legs. So Washington, they're going to be stealing a player from Pittsburgh. And of course, there's no doubt on who it's going to be. Sid the Kid, welcome to the team. As Washington continues to make moves, although they don't have a ton of land, they've already picked up new players in Jack Hughes and Sidney Crosby. So that's definitely helping the team a ton. So don't underestimate them, even though they don't have a ton of land. Heading over to the Atlantic, we got the Boston Bruins up next. With them taking their towns northwest, they're going to have themselves claiming a free state. Heading back up to Canada, the Edmonton Oilers are up next, and they're heading southeast. But southeast doesn't have them doing too much, because if we're basing it off the logo, that means they're going to be claiming Saskatchewan. Heading all the way over to the opposite end of the map, we have Carolina. The Hurricanes are going to be heading southwest, but that doesn't mean too much, as they're going to be claiming a free state. For what seems like the 900th time in this video, we're landing on the Arizona Coyotes. I don't understand how we landed on the Arizona Coyotes so much, but here we are. Arizona probably regrets getting in on this spin, because now they got to head northwest, and that means they have the Colorado Avalanche up next. That's definitely not going to be an easy game for them. With one period in the books, the Coyotes are going to have themselves a 2-1 lead. While in the second period, Colorado and Arizona are going to exchange goals, so they're keeping this a 1-goal game. But with the goalie pulled for the Colorado Avalanche, Nick Schmaltz is going to be burying the empty netter, and somehow they just beat the Colorado Avalanche. No clue how they did that, but they beat the Avalanche. And of course, we have to continue to fix the defensive core for Arizona, so I'm going to be passing up on Nathan McKinnon to add Cale Makar to the team. Okay, if you asked me at the beginning of this video how well would Arizona do, I would have said they lose in their first matchup, barring who they play against. Like, they could hold it down with the Anaheim Ducks, but they would lose to Colorado, they would lose to Dallas, and they would lose to LA. But here we are, and they've taken down Colorado and they've taken down the Kings. So that just shows you anything can happen. Finally, we get to see some real hockey and some fantastic goaltending. The St. Louis Blues are up next, and they're going to be taking on one of their biggest rivals. They're heading northeast, and that means we got the Chicago Blackhawks. Like usual, St. Louis is going to do their thing, and they're going to pot 5 goals in the first period, while the second period is going to be a scoreless one. But there's one thing I forgot to account for, and that's Jordan Binnington. It's now a 1-goal game, and there's 15 minutes left. We're going to lose this. But luckily, Pitlick, he's going to be saving the day for us. He's going to be potting an insurance goal for us, and we're not even going to need it, as we're taking the Chicago Blackhawks down 6-4. There's no reason this game should have been that close. Although there's not too many guys to take away from Chicago, I'm going to be bringing over Seth Jones to help our defense, because that clearly needs help, but I also don't think Seth Jones is the guy to save the day here. Going from one powerhouse to another, the Tampa Bay Lightning are our next team, and they're going to be heading northwest. But northwest isn't going to be doing too much, as that's just going to allow them to claim a free state. The New York Rangers, on the other hand, they're going to have a hard time avoiding anyone, and now they got a tough matchup. And with them heading southeast, they're going to have to take on the Boston Bruins. St. Louis legend Vladimir Tarasenko is going to start the goal scoring in the first period, as he's potting one with less than 3 seconds left in the period. While in the third period, the Rangers and Bruins are going to be exchanging goals, but Boston's not going to be able to get back into this one, and the Rangers, they're going to be advancing. Now, this is probably going to be a very controversial decision. I'm passing up on David Pastrnak, Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron, and I'm going with Charlie McAvoy, because I feel like he helps this team the most. We have a bunch of great snipers here already, in Vladimir Tarasenko, Mika Zibanejad, Patrick Kane, just to name a few. I feel like Charlie McAvoy is going to have a bigger impact on this team. And although the Rangers aren't stealing too much territory for Boston, you can't sleep on this team. You can sleep on the Nashville Predators though, because I don't think they're going to be doing too much. They're taking their town southwest, so they got to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Stammer's going to help get the Bolts on the board in the second period after a scoreless first, and it looks like that goal with less than 5 minutes left from Chernak is going to be the difference maker, as Tampa's going to be taking down the Nashville Predators, and we're bringing another elite defenseman onto the team in Roman Josi. After claiming the territory from Nashville, Tampa Bay continues to move north. Columbus is looking to make moves once again, as they're up next, and through them heading southwest, they're going to be claiming a free state. And speaking of teams that want to be claiming more land, Washington's up next, and they're going to be heading northwest, and they're matching up against a team that just claimed a free state in the Columbus Blue Jackets. In the first period, Washington's going to come out hot, as they're picking up 2 goals, and after a scoreless second, they're going to double down, picking up another 2. Now they've got a 4-goal lead. But don't worry, because Johnny Hockey, he's going to be potting one late in the third period, and he's going to make this a 3-goal game. The only problem, there's only 20 seconds left in the game, so Washington's going to be taking this one. I'm going to be making a bit of a controversial move here, as I'm going to be passing up on guys like Johnny Hockey and Patrick Laine, and I'm bringing Zach Werenski to the team. With John Carlson still hurt and not in the lineup, we need some help on the defensive end, and Zach Werenski, he's going to fill that role perfectly. And that win for Washington is absolutely massive for them, because they're going to be claiming all of Columbus's territory, and that's going to move them into top 4 for most land owned. And speaking of teams that want to continue to claim land, we got the Arizona Coyotes, and with this team heading northwest, they're looking to claim the rest of California, and they got the San Jose Sharks up next. Arizona's going to be coming out hot, as they're picking up goals from Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz to give themselves a 2-goal lead. And after a goal from Clayton Keller, which gave them a 3-goal lead, San Jose is going to fight back, and they're going to get this within 1. But the Coyotes are just going to be too elite. They're going to be picking up 3 goals in the first half of the third period, and this one's going to be a blowout, as Arizona's defeating the Sharks 6-2. And with Arizona continuing to roll through the entire league, after defeating the San Jose Sharks, they're going to be adding Erik Karlsson to the team, and now the defense is looking absolutely elite. And the one benefit from Arizona playing as much as they have, although this wasn't a good team at the start of the video, they're looking not too bad now. On the defensive end, Cale Makar, Drew Doughty, and Erik Karlsson leading the way, and they've picked up 2 solid forwards in Jack Eichel and Troy Terry, so you definitely can't sleep on this team. It seems like a trend after Arizona plays a game, the Edmonton Oilers are up next, and it looks like this team's going to have a matchup because with them heading southwest, they got the Seattle Kraken to take down. And like usual in Edmonton Oilers games, you got some elite defense going on, and the Edmonton Oilers, they're going to be potting 3 straight after Seattle opened up the scoring with 2 straight. In the second period, the teams are exchanging goals, and the same thing's happening in the third period as Edmonton's going to enter the final 4 minutes up 1. And it looks like Edmonton's going to be able to hold off the Seattle Kraken as they're going to be defeating them in a 5-4 game. And to help this Edmonton defense a bit more, we're going to be bringing Vince Dunn onto the team. Heading all the way over east, we have one of the best teams in the league up next in the New York Rangers, and they're going to be taking their talents northeast. And that means we're going to have a Metro Division matchup as the New York Rangers are taking on the Washington Capitals. It looks like regulation play is not going to be able to settle this game as we're going to be entering overtime in a 3-3 tie. And in the extra frame, Lafreniere is going to be getting the feed from Hedel, and he's going to be eliminating the Washington Capitals, and he's going to help the Rangers bring another elite sniper onto the team in Alexander Ovechkin. Now, I understand this goes against what I said after they defeated the Boston Bruins and not bringing Pasta onto the team, but you just can't pass up on a guy like Alexander Ovechkin. And honestly, the Washington Capitals don't have an elite defenseman right now with John Carlson out of the lineup, so Ovi was really the best option, let's be fair. And with the Rangers continuing to make moves as they are, they're now one of the top teams in most land owned. We have the most elite franchise up next in the St. Louis Blues, and they're going to be heading northeast, so that means they're claiming a free state. The Rangers better be lucky they didn't have to face St. Louis, because we already know how that would have went. So a team we haven't seen the video yet is up next, and that's the Arizona Coyotes. And Arizona's getting incredibly lucky because with them heading slightly northeast, they're going to be avoiding Dallas and claiming a free state. Carolina's ready to make some moves, so they're going to be heading south, but that's going to be a free state as well, so we haven't seen a matchup in a while. But I think we're going to see one here. The Dallas Stars, they're the next team up. They're going to be heading directly east, and they're actually claiming a free state as well. It's about time we headed back up to Canada, and the Edmonton Oilers, they're going to be the team. With them heading slightly southeast, they got the Ottawa Senators to take on next. Okay, this game's a wrap already. 4 goals in the first period. And then McDavid, he's going to pick up 1 in the third, but Ottawa's getting 2. And let's be fair, the Senators aren't making this comeback. Yeah, I think it's safe to say Edmonton's taking this one, but they're going to score 1 more because why not? 8-3. That's a tough way to go out. So I've already improved the defense a bunch on this team. Now it's time to improve the grid a bit, so I'm going to bring in Brady Tkachuk. And that win was absolutely massive for Edmonton because now they've taken down the Ottawa Senators. They owned the most land in the entire game. So this team's been doing absolutely nothing the entire video, so it's about time to get in the mix, the Buffalo Sabres. I think this team's in the top 10 and they haven't done a thing. I'm just going to keep it 100. I respect it. But even though they've been sitting for a long time, it's time for them to get in the mix. They're heading southwest and they got the New York Rangers to take on. And that's definitely not going to be an easy one. The Rangers are going to give themselves a good early lead as they're taking 2 goals in the first period, but Jack Quinn's going to keep the Sabres in the game as he's potting the lone goal in the second period. But that goal just doesn't matter. The Rangers are going to double down the third period. They got a 4-1 lead, but a 4-1 lead might not be enough, so they potted an empty netter, but Tage Thompson's making the comeback. He's scoring a goal with 10 seconds left in the game. Nah, it's a wrap. And since he scored against us, I'll bring him to the team. Tage Thompson on the New York Rangers. This team easily has the best forward core, and I don't think anyone can stop that. Not too many changes are being done to the map because Buffalo literally owns 0 land, so we're looking basically the exact same. We're getting into the home stretch, so Carolina's looking to pick up some more players. And with them heading northwest, they're going to have a tough matchup on their hands as they got the New York Rangers. But if they can beat this Rangers team, Panarin would be a nice addition to the team. Carolina's coming out hot in the first period as they're taking a 2-goal lead, and then they're going to double down on that, and now they're up 4-0. So unless the Rangers can make some incredible comeback here, Carolina might be taking them down. Patrick Kane would be able to pot a goal halfway through the third period, but it's just not going to be enough, and Carolina, they're going to complete the massive upset over the New York Rangers, taking them down 4-1. And of course, we already know who I'm adding to the team. I mentioned it earlier. Panarin, welcome to the Carolina Hurricanes. That win for Carolina is going to be absolutely massive as they're claiming tons of territory. The Arizona Coyotes are looking to add more pieces to the team, and now they're heading directly north, but that's just going to be a free state for them. Heading just east to Arizona is the Dallas Stars, and they're actually going to end up heading west, so they got to take on Arizona. It would be an even match first period as each team's taking a goal, but in the second period, Arizona's taking control, and now they're up by 1. And the Coyotes just don't stop. Jack Eichel and Zach Cassian are both picking up goals in the third period, and this game's a wrap for Arizona, and they're taking down Dallas, so that means they're going to be adding Jason Robertson to the team. How is this team so elite? Look at the map. They're in the top 3 for most land owned. The Arizona Coyotes, 3rd most for land owned. They've taken down Dallas. They've taken down Vegas. They've taken down Colorado. This team might win it all. We got ourselves a team that hasn't done anything the entire video so far in the Minnesota Wild, and they're going to be heading directly north, so they got to enter some Edmonton territory, and they got to take them on. Minnesota's been resting the entire video, so they got some fresh legs, so they're taking a 2-0 lead in the first period. But McDavid, he's going to be answering in the second to get this game within 1. The Oilers and Wild are going to be able to exchange goals in the third period, but when push came to shove, Minnesota was just too tough, and a Zuccarello empty netter is going to be finishing this game up. And with that win from Minnesota, there's only one guy we need, Connor McDavid. Him and Kirill Kaprizov on the first line is going to be absolutely deadly. And as we know, Edmonton owned a ton of territory, so with Minnesota taking them down, they've got tons of land now. And it doesn't look like the Wild are done there because they're up once again, and this team's now heading southeast. But southeast isn't going to be doing too much for this team as they're going to be claiming a free state. Another team that hasn't done anything the entire video so far is the Philadelphia Flyers, and they're up next. And this team's going to be heading directly east, so that means they got to take on the Carolina Hurricanes. And this definitely is going to be an easy task for them. Okay, I take that back. Philly's up 3-0 somehow. Don't really know what's going on here. Carolina would try to fight back in the second period, but they're just going to end up exchanging goals with Philly. And somehow in the third period, Philly's going to hold on to this, and they're going to be upsetting the Carolina Hurricanes in a 4-1 win. How did Philly just win? So really, it doesn't matter who we add from Carolina to this team, and I'm going to add Svechnikov. Also, I understand there's going to be comments saying Svechnikov is hurt. Yes, I understand he's hurt, but I'm using the most updated roster, and technically the roster was done before he got injured, so way she goes. I'm just going to say, if you told me at the beginning of the video we'd be down to the final 6 and the top 3 teams would be Arizona, Minnesota, and Philadelphia, I would have laughed at you. Not a chance. So it looks like we're sticking around with teams that haven't done anything, and we got the New York Islanders now. The Islanders really have no choice. They're heading southeast, and they have to take on the Philadelphia Flyers. Philly and the Islanders would exchange goals in the first period, and that's exactly what they're doing in the second period as well. But in the third period, Owen Tippett's going to score halfway through, and he's giving Philly the lead. And Philly's able to hold on to that lead, and they're completing their second episode of the video, taking down the New York Islanders. And who are we going to be acquiring from the New York Islanders? Of course, that's got to be Matthew Barzal. So teaming him up with Svechnikov, that's going to be a pretty deadly line combination. So we've entered the final 5. We got Arizona, Minnesota, St. Louis, Philly, and Tampa Bay. Some of these teams aren't like the others. Of course, I'm talking about every team, not St. Louis, because St. Louis is the most superior team here. Just leave it at that. Well, speaking of the most superior team, St. Louis is next up, and they're going to be heading southwest. And through them heading southwest, they're looking to complete the upset over the Arizona Coyotes, who have been dominating the video so far. Although Drew Doughty's going to be scoring the first goal of the game, St. Louis is going to respond with 2 to give themselves a 1-goal lead. And then they're doubling down on that in the second period, and they've got themselves a 4-2 lead. But of course, we got a Jordan Binnington classic going on. He's going to allow 2 goals in less than 20 seconds, and Arizona's evening up this game. However, this game's not headed to overtime. With less than 30 seconds left in the game, Braden Shen's going to be scoring to give St. Louis the lead, and they're going to go on to win this game. And through beating this team, I'm going to be adding Arizona's best player, and that's Clayton Keller. And with that dominant win from the St. Louis Blues, they're defeating one of the strongest teams left in the Arizona Coyotes. Definitely didn't think I would be saying that sentence. Tampa's been pretty quiet the last few rounds, so they're up next, and they're heading directly north. So of course, they gotta take on the Philadelphia Flyers. Tampa's coming out hot in the first period as they're potting 2 goals. And then the second period, why not score a few more? And now they got themselves a 5-0 lead. And let's face it, this game's a wrap. Tampa's up 6-0, and they're moving on. Of all the healthy players on the current Philadelphia Flyers roster, I'm going to be bringing Kevin Hayes to the team. Because realistically, this entire Philly team is hurt, and there's really no upgrades I could have gotten. Entering the final 3, this could really go any team's way. But if you were to ask me, I'm kind of leaning towards Tampa, because so far they've picked up a lot of stars, and they already had an elite team on top of that, so this is definitely coming down to the wire. The next team up is going to be the St. Louis Blues, and they're heading slightly northwest. But ironically, that's actually going to be a free space for them, so they don't have to take anyone on. I want to mention, I'm basing the direction from where the logo is. So although technically St. Louis territory is touching Minnesota territory, from the logo there was a free space, so St. Louis gets that. But that doesn't really matter because St. Louis is up on the wheel again, and this time they're heading slightly southeast. Well, ironically, once again, St. Louis is hitting a free space. I already know there's going to be comments saying, oh, you rigged it. You're rigging it for St. Louis, blah, blah, blah. I would have done the exact same for any other team. I'm keeping it 1,000. I'm not going to try to rig this for St. Louis's favor. Why would I? I get nothing from doing that. So the wheel decided to give up with St. Louis, and it's moving on to the Minnesota Wild. And this one's pretty clear. Minnesota's going basically east, so that means they got to take on Tampa Bay. Stammer's going to get the goal scoring started in this game as he's pot 1 the first, and he's going to double down the second period, picking up another one, but Zuccarello is going to keep this game close. In the third period, Steven Stamkos is going to finish up the hat trick, and his 3 goals are going to be enough for Tampa to take down Minnesota, and now we got ourselves the final. Before we get to the final though, we have to add one more player to Tampa, and that's going to be Kirill Kaprizov. So here it is, the St. Louis Blues and the Tampa Bay Lightning, the final 2 teams. Who would have thought St. Louis would get here? Tampa doesn't really surprise me. This is still an elite team. St. Louis on the other hand, yeah, I don't understand that one. How did we survive this long? So let's just take a quick look at these 2 teams. Looking at Tampa, the team's looking fantastic with their additions of Kaprizov, Matthew Tkachuk, and Kevin Hayes to the forwards. While looking at the defense for them, they picked up Roman Josi. That was an excellent move for them. And the goaltending situation, you got Vasilevsky. Nothing needs to be said about that. Now let's look at my St. Louis Blues with the additions of Clayton Keller to the forward core, and Clayton Keller only, and our addition of Seth Jones to the defense, only Seth Jones. We got Jordan Binnington to rely on in net. If I were to do this simulation 10 times, times. Tampa would probably win 11 times. You heard that right. So with our final wheel spin in the video, we're just going to be seeing who's going to take home ice advantage. And of course, that's the Tampa Bay Lightning. To be fair, this team earned it. St. Louis and Tampa are going to be exchanging goals in the first period, but in the second, St. Louis is taking over. Buchnevich and Sammy Blair both potting one, and now St. Louis has a 2-goal lead. And with Jordan Binnington in net, we got a Binner classic, as Kucherov's going to be scoring 2 goals in just 1 minute. This one's going down to the wire, isn't it? Tampa would have a late push in the third period, but they weren't able to convert on their power play, and now we're headed to overtime. And in overtime, Braden Shen's going to find Jordan Kyrou, who was able to split away from the defense. He's potting the OT winner, and the St. Louis Blues are winning NHL Imperialism. The St. Louis Blues just won NHL Imperialism. This proves they are the greatest franchise in NHL history. Nobody can say anything about it. The St. Louis Blues are them. You can't stop this team. Nah, real talk though, how did we just beat Tampa? That Tampa team should have smoked us.